So I just pretty much finished my friend's wedding dress that I have been working on. I have to add the zipper, but we're basically done, which means I can turn my attention to something else. The first thing that I need to do, though, before I get into that is I have a new rule for myself, which is that I have to clean up my studio after each project and before I start the next one. So we're going to do a little cleaning first, and then we'll jump into it. Kopo. Kopo. Okay, so everything is cleaned. I'm trying to say this all before my daughter wants me to hold her again. Everything is cleaned, so now we can get started on working on this next project. We thought that she obviously needed a beautiful gown to be in the music video, but I'm really short on time because it's in 2 weeks. So we bought a ready-made dress off of Amazon, and I grabbed some little appliques and trim and stuff that I'm going to add to the dress to make it something extra special and really unique. So let's do it. Hi, it's future Madeline. I am here at my computer working on this vlog right now, and I'm realizing that there's this awkward space between the introduction that I filmed and when I'm working on the dress that doesn't really explain what I'm actually doing. So when I am working on an existing dress, the first step that I do, and actually I do this a lot throughout the process, is I take all the appliques and I just pin them on in various formations. So it takes a lot of pinning and unpinning. So if you're seeing me kind of like working and then taking everything off and then redoing it all, that's why. I'm just testing to see what I like, basically. And then once I have that figured out, then I can go in and start sewing. But you'll see me do this a lot throughout the process because I will like add one type of applique and then I will test out a different set of appliques in different formations and then sew those on, and it just goes on and on and on throughout the process. So that's basically what I'm doing here in the next footage that you're about to see. So back to past Madeline. Okay, so I have figured out what I want to do now. It took a little bit of taking things off, putting them back on, trying different ruffling techniques, all that sort of stuff. But I like the way it looks right now. Obviously, there's like loops of fabric and stuff, so it's not like how it's going to look exactly. But I have a rough idea of where I want things to go. So now I need to just like take a lot of photos with my phone so I don't forget. And then once I have those to use as a reference, then I can take everything off and then start with like the foundational layers, the things that are going to be underneath all the other stuff. So for example, the ruffles on the slit of the skirt and the ruffle on the sleeves are going to be underneath a lot of this stuff. So I'll do that first. And then I will probably work on adding on all the appliques. And then once those are put on, I will work on adding the last little accent trim. And then she'll be done. Which is a lot, but hopefully I can do this quickly. Alright, so now is a good time to talk about your finishing touches. So when you are working on a gown or any piece of clothing from scratch, as you're building it, you kind of are making sure all the seams are put together correctly so that on the outside it looks nice and clean. When you're doing a project like this, where we're trying to avoid having to take the dress apart at the seams, it makes that part a little tricky where it can look unfinished on the outside. So you kind of have to get a little creative with how you go about making it look nice and neat and clean. So a good example of this is when I'm going to be adding this ruffle along the slit of the skirt. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see in more detail what I'm talking about. Alright, so as you can see, we have this slit in the dress, and we want to add this ruffle on the outside. The quickest and easiest way to do that would be to just tack it on the top, but obviously we don't really want to do that because then you have this raw edge and it doesn't look very nice. Unless that's the look you're going for, but that's not what we're going for with this piece. So my thought, what I would do is, one way to do it is to just simply put it underneath and sew down the line. That is the fastest way to do it, and honestly you could get away with it because when are you ever going to be like turning this inside out? I mean, even me just now trying to like show you, like, it's unlikely you're going to see that. But if you want to go the extra mile and make it really nice and finished just like it is right now, and you see how it's kind of finished really nicely there, what I was thinking I would do, and this is where you kind of have to get a little creative, is first sewing it the wrong way. So with the edge, the raw edge facing out, and obviously you don't want it that direction because then you can't see the ruffle. But once this is sewn in, you can flip it back and sew another line down the outside, and then what you have on the inside is a nice clean edge. Another alternative would be to You could do it on this side or this side, but then trim it really close to the stitch line and then go and add a ribbon. So that is what I mean by kind of taking that extra time to think about how you're going to finish this gown or finish whatever piece you're working on to make it look really nice and professional in the end, even though you didn't take the whole dress apart, you just added trim here and there. So here's another example of why it is so important to think things through before you add them to your finished gown. So in the last few examples I gave you, I presented a few different routes that you could go about adding a piece to your completed gown. And then I went off camera and tried out all the ways I was going to do it first before sewing anything, and came up with a solution that was slightly different from all the other options that I already presented. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, like I said in the first option, is attach it to the outside. And remember how I said that, oh, then you'd have this raw edge on the outside, and I mentioned maybe putting a ribbon on the outside, but I didn't really want to do it with this. I changed my mind. And the reason I changed my mind is because as I was thinking through what I was doing and looking back at all my pictures, I noticed the only place I really had this trim was around the waist. So I decided that if I did the first option of tacking it on the outside of my slit and then taking some of this ribbon and using it to hide that raw edge, that now I'm going to have this gold trim not just here, but also here. And I think a costume looks the best when you're able to incorporate all the elements in various places around the whole dress. Because what happens then is it looks like it was planned and it was made that way, rather than like, oh, let me just add a ribbon here and a ruffle there and call it good. Hi, it's me, Future Madeline again. So, as I was getting to the end of working on this dress, I basically ran out of time. Everyone showed up for the shoot, and I still had not finished the dress, so my brain just kind of like went into like rush, get it done mode, and was not thinking about recording vlog footage at all. One of the coolest things that you didn't really see the construction of is the little capelet shoulder piece that I made for this dress. So the capelet you'll see in future footage that I'm about to share, it wraps all the way around the back, but the back of the dress is actually adjustable. So I couldn't have anything permanent there because otherwise she wouldn't be able to get the dress on and off, because you have to undo the corset back lacing in order to remove the dress. If there was a permanent little capelet sewn on there, that removes that ability to undo the lacing. So what I did is I took my different appliques and ribbons and made my little capelet, made it really nice and finished on both sides, and then left it kind of unattached. And then what we could do is, depending on what Christina wanted, she could either wear the capelet or not wear it. And so if she did decide to wear it, we could just pin it on for the shoot. And as you'll see in this footage, she did decide to wear the capelet, and I think it looks really, really good. So yeah, with all of that said, let's check out the footage that we recorded from the day of the shoot, and I really hope you enjoy this vlog. Also, as a side note, I apologize. All of the footage I have from the shoot is in portrait orientation. Again, I was just so rushed for time and getting everything done that I was not thinking in vlog footage mode. So this is what I have, but I hope you enjoy it regardless.